America. Oligarchy since Inception. Presidents Adam and Lincoln are related via the Gilman family. Who are the Gilmans? Quote, I've been working the Gilman name for quite some time and have found that the origin of the Gilman name dates back to about 843 in Wales. Originally, Gilman Dro Du, or Gilman of the Black Leg. My info brings the name up through King Henry VI and VII, the Tudors, and the Plantagenets. The Tudor line ended when King Henry II died. Through other connections of Gilman Dro Du, I have gone back to 404 using his uncle Mervyn Vrishay, King of the Isle of Man. I have researched quite thoroughly the country of Wales and have about 1,000 pages, including approximately 600 pictures of the present. I have a timeline of Wales, royalty of Wales, and much more information. Need or want any of it? Sincerely, Richard W. Gilman, U.S. Navy, retired. Actually, the lineage of Gilman can be traced back as far as 45 BC. Apparently, Belimar married Anna, daughter of Joseph of Arimathea. See link above. So let's go to that link above really quick. And you can see that all of these guys are kings of the Isle of Man, and they go back to 45 BC and even before, Roman emperors and stuff like that. The Gilman coat of arms contains a black leg, not a black boot. It is from the legend of Gilman Dro Du, or Gilman of the Black Leg, who lived in Glenilson, North Wales, in about 843. This knight's stronghold was close to Carnarvon, in the mountain called Uriphil, the Rivals, which was once dedicated to fire worship in the Liffon River. The legend is that far up in the mountains and across the river which marked the boundary of Gilman's territory lived demons. Gilman became friends with a necromancer who lived in the area and knew all secrets of nature except one, which was in a book guarded by a demon who lived near the summit of Uriphil. The necromancer, a magician, did not have the power to get the book, so Gilman, who was afraid of nothing, promised to get it for him. Gilman mounted his horse and safely crossed the river. He had been warned not to touch the water because evil would befall him if he did so. When he reached the top, a giantess was so surprised that she let a pile of stones she had in her apron fall out of it. The place is still called Apronful of Stones. Gilman battled the giantess and the demon, was able to snatch the book and ride down the mountain. By the time he reached the river Liffon, his horse was so exhausted it died. Gilman made a desperate leap for the far bank, but one foot slipped and his leg went into the water. He made it to the necromancer with the book, but his leg had turned black, and he was lame from that day forward. This tale of the Middle Ages was probably written by a monk as a teaching tool. However, there was actually a knight by this name living in the area at the time. The coat of arms used by the Gilman was given by Vincent, the herald, in Welsh coat of arms, written about 1620 as that used by Gilman Dro Du. Descendants of this knight were allowed to use that coat of arms. The arms and crest vary widely in different branches of the family, but the black leg is always present. The crest of the Norfolk Gilman's crest is a demi-lion issuing from the cap of maintenance, and the motto is Si Deus qui contra. If God be with us, what can avail against us? Or Esperance, hope. Edward the Immigrant is of this line. And you can see here a book published in 1898, the Magna Carta Barons and their American Descendants. We have, you can see right here, she was the sixth descendant from Edward Gilman, who came from Hingham, England to Hingham, Massachusetts in 1638. Her family were descendants of Gilman Dro Du, founder of the fourth noble tribe of Wales, who was a descendant of Cole Godebach and King of Britain and Duke of Colchester, circa AD 300. So another source confirming the very ancient founding of this family, the Gilmans. And if we go to the peerage, which the Americans line is connected in the peerage to the English one, by the way, as also confirmed by this source up here. In the peerage, we also have Peter J.I. Gilman, seen below. He was a director of Leeds United between 1982 and 1996. He was chairman of Manston Development Group, property developer at Leeds, Yorkshire, West Riding, England. It's very curious that his parents are not listed. So why is he in the peerage? Why is that curious? Well, His son George Gilman married Lady Rose Victoria Brigitte Louise Windsor, great-granddaughter of George V. Windsor, King of the United Kingdom. She is the daughter of Richard Alexander Walter George Windsor, Duke of Gloucester. Clearly, they are still a very important family in the United Kingdom. So let's take a look at the line that moved to the U.S. in the 1630s. Once again, this is the same family. The Adams are related to Gilman, Brown, Dudley, Clark, Trevorgy, Folsom, Rice, Cooper, Knight. Joanna Gilman, 1725, married Joseph Adams, born 1723. Joanna's mother and father are cousins, both descendants of Edward the Colonist Gilman. Edward the Colonist's sister is Bridget, wife of Edward Thomas Lincoln. So through the Gilmans, Presidents Adam and Lincoln are related. Yes, President Lincoln is on the Peerage, a website dedicated to a genealogical survey of Britain as well as the royal families of Europe. So let's take a look at some of the Gilman family members, and I'll give you a minute to read that and pause if you would like. And the important part here is that at age 15, he went to work for a merchant. Looking for keywords here, people. A merchant. And if you read this little paragraph here, it's merchants versus the people. And so you can see that early on they have a company in Exeter, Folsom, Gilman and Gilman. They build ships and make sea voyages. They had extensive dealings in England and the Caribbean, so they're clearly very wealthy already if they build ships and have extensive dealings in England and the Caribbean. And also this links us to their English side of the family, which never left. In autumn of 1776, Gilman was appointed by the New Hampshire House of Representatives as treasurer. Another theme here is the jobs that they have, such as treasurer. And he was chairman of the New Hampshire Committee of Safety in the American Revolutionary War, a group responsible for supplies for the state's troops. At the end of the war, the currencies collapsed and debts were hard to collect. So why does that matter to him? Oh, he's a debt collector. Gilman became an associate of the Ohio Company of Associates and decided to immigrate to the Northwest Territory with his wife and son for a fresh start. Debts were hard to collect, so let's go find some new people to put in debt. His son, Benjamin Ives Gilman, was a pioneer of the U.S. state of Ohio. He was also a shipbuilder on the Ohio River and an extensive landholder. So I'll give you a minute to read that. Another important note about him is he graduated from Phillips Exeter Academy. Let's see. Okay. In 1801, Gilman began a shipbuilding business. His ships would sail down the Ohio River and Mississippi River and thence to ports on the Atlantic Ocean. This business thrived until the Embargo Act of 1807 destroyed trade. Gilman also had extensive land holdings in Ohio. In 1810, he owned 22,000 acres, sixth most in the state. So his son, Winthrop Sargent Gilman. Sargent is also one of these, oligarchic names. So is Winthrop. Think Winthrop Rockefeller. Winthrop Sargent Gilman was head of the banking house of Gilman, Son & Co. in New York City. Gilman, Son & Co. in New York often acted in conjunction with the interests of the Brown family of Providence, Rhode Island, founders of Brown University. Think Brown Brothers Harriman, and also think what Dr. Carroll Quigley said about the power of these investment bankers. Winthrop Sargent Gilman's son, Theodore P. Gilman, seen below with Carnegie. He's doing his best eminence Greece. In 1904, Theodore P. published a 17-page article, The Clearinghouse System in the Journal of Political Economy. This is generally considered to be the original plan for the creation of the Federal Reserve. So I think that's even before the creature from Jekyll Island. So I'd like some people to help me out with that, if that's true. So this guy, the Gilmans, are the original planners of that. Interesting. Early on in his career, he was involved in financing Midwestern railroads. So we have ships, railroads, bankers, merchants. You're getting the picture of this family. We also see a very rare instance of criminal activity put in Theodore P.'s Wikipedia page, that he was arrested on charge of fraud. He had another financial position as comptroller in New York. Okay. Another very close line of the Gilmans is Colonel Daniel Gilman, who purchased the Ladd Gilman house in 1747, which was enlarged by his son Nathaniel. The house now houses the American Independence Museum in Exeter, New Hampshire. The home was purchased in 1747. Daniel Gilman, a prominent Exeter merchant. It served as the state treasury. State treasury. His house was the state treasury during the American Revolutionary War, when two members of the Gilman family, Colonel Nicholas Gilman and his son, John Taylor Gilman, later the state's governor, served as treasurers of the state. So their house was the treasury, and both father and son were the treasurers. Interesting. Also born in the house was Nicholas Gilman, Jr., a signer of the United States Constitution and U.S. Senator from New Hampshire. Nicholas Gilman, Jr. was a soldier in the Continental Army during the American Revolutionary War, a delegate to the Continental Congress, and a signer of the U.S. Constitution representing New Hampshire. He was a member of the United States House of Representatives during the first four Congresses and served in the U.S. Senate from 1805 until his death in 1814. His brother, John Taylor Gilman, was also very active in New Hampshire politics, serving as governor of New Hampshire for 14 years, as well as a principal benefactor of Phillips Exeter Academy. Their childhood home in Exeter is now the American Independence Museum. That same year, he helped to suppress the Paper Money Riot. The Paper Money Riot, or Exeter Rebellion, was an armed uprising in Exeter, New Hampshire on September 20th, 1786. Following the American Revolution, the nation, states, and many individuals were deeply in debt. The lack of specie and paper currency in circulation made the payments of debt difficult for poor farmers. A group calling themselves regulators called for the printing of paper money, believing that the issue of paper notes on credit would help stimulate the state's economies. Skipping ahead a little bit, it's basically the point here is that he helped to suppress people revolting against debt. So you can see the link there. So let's skip ahead to Daniel Hoyt Gilman. I know that if you study this work, you are aware of the connection of Brown Brothers Harriman and the Skull and Bones Society. So when we skip ahead here to Daniel Hoyt Gilman, was an American educator and academic. Gilman was instrumental in the founding of the Sheffield Scientific School at Yale College and subsequently served as third president of the University of California and as the first president of Johns Hopkins University, as the founding of president of the Carnegie Institution. He was also co-founder of the Russell Trust Association, which administers the business affairs of the Yale's Skull and Bones Society. Also, there's the Gilman Garrison House, which is a historic museum at 12 Water Street in Exeter, New Hampshire. Built in 1709, it is a rare surviving example of a first-period garrison house, built with a number of clearly defense-related features. Counselor John Gilman, a proprietor of sawmills and member of a prominent early Exeter family involved in shipping. So, built the log house in 1709 and fortified it for protection. So already by 1709, there are very prominent shipping merchants. And so basically what I'm saying here is they were already very wealthy. If already wealthy from England is where they got their money, is what I'm saying. Okay, so you can see that, yep, I am running out of time. Okay,